Apologies. Shedding. Network, when this load shedding thing happen, it affects network. So I think I was putted out because of load shedding. Hey, guys, please just bear with us. Some of these things are beyond our control. So, but no, that's fine. Let me just continue from where I was. Okay, let me just share. All right. So I was actually here, right? Did I share this? Let me see. Can't see. Oh yeah. Okay. So I have shared the screen. All right, because I couldn't see whether it shared or not. All right. So now we are. I'm saying the frequency distribution, right? I was explaining about the frequency distribution, right? So I was saying the class interval, right? The class interval, it is the term that is used to denote the numerical width of a class in a frequency distribution. And I was trying to give an example, right? An example of that example that I was giving you when a lecturer comes in and he was saying, 4 to 5, 6 to 7. So 4 to 5 is the class interval. You can see that it's an interval. There's a lower number there and there's an upper number. So 6 is the lowest limit for that class and 7 will be the highest limit for that class, right? So what you need to understand is in grouped frequency distribution, when we are talking about grouped data, right? Data is arranged in the form. Okay, let me see. I'm seeing that there are questions that are coming in. All right, let's see. You can see the screen. Can you see now?
Yes,
can you verify it? Oh,
yes.
All right, thank you. Okay. So so in grouped frequency distribution, so we are saying data is arranged in the form of classes, right? So they've got the first class, then you write how many people fall into that class. Second class, how many people fall into that class. So a person cannot have 2 shoe sizes. Can you see? So you cannot have a same data point appearing more than once in group data, right? So it's either if you don't have a shoe size between 4 to 5, you are not in that group. If you don't have a shoe size of 8 to 9, you are not that group. For myself, I've got a shoe size of 7, so 6 to 7, that's where I would fall into. So that's what grouped frequency distribution is all about, right? You adjust, the data is arranged in form of classes. So now what you need to understand is there are there are limits that gives the class interval. So there's what we call an upper class limit and there's what we call a lower class limit. So the lower class limit is the lowest value that is for that specific class. Like if we say a class of 4 to 5, the lowest shoe size for that class is 4 because that's the lower limit for that class. The maximum shoe size for that class is 5 because that's the highest Oh, all right, guys. I think I'm having a problem with load shedding. I'm going to try one last time. If it boosts me out, what I'm going to do is I'll do an offline recording, because at least you have seen my face. We have talked for a little while, though, you know, I think the network is a little bit jealous. But if I get booted out again for the third time, I'll make an offline video, right? So don't worry. It's only, I think it's just, I'm not so sure why today, because most of the days, even if there's load shedding, I don't have much problem with network, but I'm not so sure what's happening today, right? But like I said, don't worry. I'll do an offline and then we'll continue, but I'll try for this last time. If it happens that I get booted out, that's when maybe I will send the recording to James so that he can send it to you guys. Okay. So let me just continue there from where, and thank you so much for your patience, guys. Thank you, you know, for your patience, for understanding. All right. So so now we were explaining about the limits, right? The lower class limit and the upper class limit. So this is very, 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 very important, right? If you don't grasp it now, don't worry. I'm going to repeat it again in the upcoming lectures, right? Because this is a very important concept when it comes to dealing with group data. So we have defined upper class limit, we have defined lower class limit. Let me now define what is called a class width, right? So a class width, right, it refers to the difference between the upper and lower boundaries of any class, right? So you can see here the keywords is the difference. Let me highlight this. The difference between the upper and lower boundaries. So what are the boundaries? Okay, let me explain it using these two statements here. So the difference between the upper boundaries, we are talking about the upper limits of two consecutive or two neighboring classes, all right? Then if you are talking about lower boundaries, it is the difference between lower limits of two consecutive classes, right? So when we are talking about upper limits, let me come back again to that example that I was giving you. So the first class is 4 to 5, right? The lower limit of that class is 4, the upper limit of that class. Let me see if I can write it. Let me see. Right. Okay, so we are saying the what? The first class is what? 4 to 5, and then the second class is what? Right? Can you see? And then the next class is what? 8 to 9. Right? So what is happening now is 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 9. So these ones here, these are the lower limits, right? And these are the upper limits, right? These are the upper limits, right? So when we are talking about the difference between either the upper limits or the lower limits, you are taking, if in the case of upper limits, you take these two neighboring upper limits, 5 and 7. So you say 7 minus 5, which is 2. If you choose to take the lower limits, it will be maybe between these two neighboring, as long as the classes are neighboring, right? 6 minus 4, right? And then you get 2. If you choose to take this 2, 8 minus 6, you get 2. If you choose to take this 2, 9 minus 7, you get 2. So it doesn't matter whether you take the lower limits or the upper limits, you still get the same answer. It's up to you. But the concept is those limits limits, right, must be neighboring. They must be consecutive. They must be coming one after the other. You can't take this 8 and 4, right? They are not neighboring, right? They are not from neighboring classes, right? So you get a wrong answer, which is 4 in this case. So you have to take those limits that will be from what? From the neighboring classes. So generally, that is how you calculate the class width. So that being said, we have defined what limits of a class is, and we have defined what the class width is. So now we can answer that question, right? Let me go back. Now you can understand what the question was saying. So the question is saying, group the data into a frequency distribution with the lowest class lower limit. So the lowest class lower limit, it means that the first class, the lowest value of the first class is 5. So we know each class has got 2 values. It has got the lower limit, it has got an upper limit. So we are being told that the lowest class, the first class, has got a lower class limit of 5, but they didn't give us the value of the higher of the upper class limit, but instead they gave us it in 2 ways, right? You can either calculate it using upper limits, or you can calculate it using lower limits, right? So if you have been given one class lower limit and a class width, it means that you can easily calculate the lower class limit of the second class. So the first class, the lower class limit of the first class is 5. Then if you add 2, which is the class width, it means that the second class has a lower class limit of 7. So that being said, now it takes us back to this table, right? When you are grouping your data, you need to create what is called a frequency table. When you're talking about frequency, is the number of occurrences that fall into that specific category. So maybe in that class, if there are 5 people that have got a shoe size that is within 4 to 5, it means that the frequency for the class of 4 to 5 is 4 people, right? So that's what frequency is the number of occurrences that fall in that specific category. Remember that these frequencies, they are unique. Each person must have 1 shoe size. You cannot have 2 or more shoe sizes, right? Maybe what can change is the cut of the shoe, but not your shoe size, right? Your shoes, your shoe size is the same, but now what changes is the cut that the manufacturer does, right? But you already know that my shoe size is what is 7 for the normal cut, but for a high cut, maybe it's 8 or whatever, right? So in this case, we must have 3 columns. The reason why in this case we're having 3 columns is because the question, right? The question said we must include cumulative frequency. I'm going to explain to you what cumulative frequency is when we get there. So they say include the cumulative frequencies. So that's the reason why we've got 3 columns there. But normally when you are grouping, you need only 2 columns. When you are grouping, you need the class interval and the frequency interval, in the frequency row, or the frequency column, right? So you need a column where it represents class intervals, and you need a column where it represents frequency. So the first class, right? The first class, we are told that the lower class limit of the first class is 5. That's why there's a 5 there. But now this number, right? This number was not there. Okay. Right, this number I did calculate it later on, right? But the next number that I would have calculated was this number, which is 7, like I was explaining to you. They had given us 5, right? And then they said 5 plus 2 was, remember, you have to subtract the 2 limits that are consecutive to each other for you to get the class width. So if you say 7 minus 5, you get 2. That's why they said class width of 2. So in this case, the 7 is not there, but we are told that the class width itself is what? Is 2, right? So in this case, we are saying 5 plus 2, you get 7, right? So now that we have 5 and 7, what is the value of the upper class limit of the first class? So what you need to understand is these values, they don't overlap, right? So we can't have 7.00 here, right? Because if we have 7.00, what if there is a worker that has a wage of 7.00? He can't go into 2 classes, because if 7.00 is here and 7.00 is here, which class are you going to put him under? So that's the reason why we're saying, you know, there's a person must fall into 1 class. So here now, since this is 7.00, this one becomes 6.99, right? Because we can't put 7.00 here, because a person that will have 7.00 must fall into 1 class only. So that's how you calculate your upper class limit. It's specific for this question, right? It's specific for this question. For other questions, maybe if you're given raw data and so forth, it will be easy to calculate, right? But specifically for this question, because they've given you the lower class limit and the class width, so that is how you determine that. So now the first class that we have 5 to 6.99, 6.99, if we add 2 to it, right? If we say 2 plus 6.99, then you get 8.99. So from this now up until there, you're now just using the class width. 7 plus 2, which is 9, 8.99 plus 2, which is 10.99. 9 plus 2, you get 11, right? 10.99 plus 2, you get 12.99, up until you fill up this class interval. So once you have these 2 classes, it's easy for you to fill up the next classes, right? Because you just be adding, right? You just be adding class width to these limits there, right? The class width to these limits. It's that easy. And then you group your people. How many people have got hourly wage that fall? So now on the frequency there, we want to see how many people have got an hourly wage that fall inside this class interval. So we come back now. That's why I was saying it's easier when you have sorted your data in ascending order, right? So we are starting from 5.00 to 6.99, right? So now 5.00, we've got 1, 2, right? 5.00 to 6.99. So this one is way above 6.99. So we've got these 2. So 2 people have got wages that lie between 5 to 6.99, right? So that's the reason why I put a frequency of 2 there, right? So into the class of 7, right? We go back to the data. So 7 to 8.99. 1, 2, 3. This is way above 8.99. So 3. Then you come here. Then you say 3. Right? So that's the same for all these classes. For how many people have occurrences, the number of people that fall into that specific category, right? Now coming to cumulative frequency now, right? So this one is additional. You put it if the question is asking you to do that, right? You put it if the question is asking you to do that. So in this case, they asked us. So the rule of thumb is the first cumulative frequency, right, for the first class is the same as the frequency itself. So that's why there's a 2 there. It only applies to the first class only, right? So since the first class is a frequency of 2, the cumulative frequency is 2. Now, the reason why it's called cumulative frequency, they are adding, you will be adding on the frequencies. You're just adding up all the frequencies, right? So for the second class, now, this one that we have highlighted, right? This class, what is the cumulative frequency here? So the cumulative frequency, you say the cumulative frequency of the second class, you say the frequency of the second class plus the cumulative frequency of the first class. So you are saying I'm going to write the equations later on, right? Later on when we do the proper slides. This is introductory, right? So we are saying that the cumulative frequency for this second class is equals to cumulative frequency of this. You are on this third class here. If you want to find this value there, you say that the frequency of this class, which is 4, plus the cumulative frequency of the previous class, which is 5. So 5 plus 4, it gives you 9. So you do the same for all these classes. So if you say 9 plus 5, you get 14. 14 plus 4, you get 18. 18 plus 2, you get 20. So that is how you come up with cumulative frequencies, right? So as easy as that. So now the next question is calculate what is called the mean wage rate, right? Like I said, mean is just the average, right? Okay, so someone is saying, all right, so it's Quena. So it's just saying, let's assist each other after this session. All right.
Sorry.
Oh, you've got a question. If you have got a question, it's fine. You can go ahead.
No, I was just saying, sorry, you can ignore the chat.
Okay, all right, no, that's fine. So now let's calculate the mean wage rate. So mean wage rate is just, in simple terms, is your average. How you calculate your average, right? So there's a formula for calculating the average. I know most of us, we already know how to calculate average. You just add everything and then divide by the total number of people, blah, blah, blah. So in this case, this is the question was saying calculate the mean for raw data, right? So the raw data is that data that have been given in individual data points. So what you need to do is you sum all the observations and then you divide by the number of observations. So what you do now is you add all the mean wages for 20 people, 5.35, 6.25, 7.70, 7.20 up until to the last value, which is 15.90. You add everything and you get 223.2. Then you divide it by the total number of people, which are 20 workers. So when you do that, you get a mean value of 11.16, right? Now, the fifth question is, they say plot what is called the Ogive curve. So what you just need to do is when you are plotting what is called the Ogive curve, when you go and check in your study module, you will see that there's a section where they're talking about the Ogive curve, right? So when you are plotting what is called the Ogive curve, you plot what is called the upper class limit versus cumulative frequency. So what you're just using, you're using values from this table here. So the upper class limits, these are the values on the right side of the class intervals. Can you see? Remember, we said that the class interval is divided into two, a lower class limit and an upper class limit. So you are only taking the upper class limits, 6.99, 8.99, 10.99, 12.99, 14.99, and 16.99. That's your X values. And your cumulative frequency, those are your Y values. So you take those two values, the upper class limit, which is 6.99, 8.99, blah, 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 up until 16.99. Then with cumulative frequencies, which those ones where we were adding the frequencies together, right? And when you plot these two, I'm not going to do it here, but I'm going to show you later on when we do the what do you call it, the slides, right? So I plotted this already, but I used Excel. So this curve here is what is called the Ogive curve, right? But then they said after you have plotted the Ogive curve, they say that calculate the median, right? Calculate the median. So the median, it is the value that divides the data into two equal halves. So when you have plotted this Ogive curve, how do you calculate the median? So you come and you check on the y-axis. So the y-axis, that is your cumulative frequency. You look at the highest number there. The highest number in this case is 20. You divide it by 2. When you divide it by 2, you get to 10. So to calculate the median now, you draw a straight line from 10 up until it crosses this curve, right? When it crosses this curve here, you draw another line starting from the curve going down. The value that you get when this line crosses the x-axis, that will be your median there. So in this case, I just estimated as 11.40, right? Because remember, 12 will be somewhere here. 12 will be at the middle there. So this is a slightly, I just said that this is slightly below the half, right? So that one might say 11.30, 11.45, or 11.50. It's still okay, right? But you can't say 11.80, right? That will be way off, right? So you just find a number that you can put there, right? So that is how you calculate 11.40. So for today, I'm going to skip the last question, because it's just a repetition of calculating the wage. They're just saying if you have added another worker, which is the 21st worker, right? Then if you're given that the mean is 12, calculate his hourly wage. So it's just playing around with the formula for mean wage rate, because I'm seeing that James is here. So that one, you can even figure it out. I'm going to share this document. It's easy. I've already explained what mean wage rate is here. You can just see how I did it. But basically, the much important aspect is from question number 1 to question number 5, right? So I tried my best to really do justice there, to explain to you in simple terms and in proper terms for you to have an idea of what we'll be talking about. So before I hand back this time to James, is there anyone with a question regarding what we have covered so far? Just feel free. Just feel free to ask. But like I said, don't worry. If you have any section that you didn't understand, I'm going to repeat it again in detail, right? This was just an introductory lecture so that you guys can have an overview of how we'll be doing these lectures, right? So today I know I wasn't typing and doing anything practical because I had already done it for you. But from next week going on, we'll be doing it practically, right?
Okay, I think we lost him there. I think he's having some network challenges. But anyway, thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in today for analytical techniques. So my mind, are you still there? Yeah, I think it's off. Thank you guys for coming in today. So my name is James. I'm sure we've seen each other before when we were doing economics 1A on Monday. And then I'm sure we'll see each other again on Saturday when we'll be doing introduction to business management on Saturday evening, right? So this class was being done by Kudaspanda, and he will continue to do the class every Thursday for analytical techniques. He's a statistician. He knows how to do calculations and whatnot. So I brought him in because I also wanted someone who's good at that to be helping you guys out. He also has got a background in IT and whatnot. In case you also need your help with your informatics, I will talk to him and see if we can arrange maybe him or someone else to help you guys with informatics 1A. But for now, let's just look at analytical techniques. So the cost is the same. If you're interested in the classes, make sure that by the end of February, you have made your payment. It will be 800 Rand for the entire semester, including the assignments. The 800 Rand includes the assignments, include exam preparation, includes access to ask questions and whatnot concerning analytical techniques. So we'll meet again next week for another free class, just to help you acclimatize and know him better, so that even if you're paying money, you want to know what you're paying for at the end of the day. But I'm sure you guys are happy. I apologize for the issue of the network. I think it's ESCOM, it was a bit unexpected on our side. We thought we were going to have power up until 8, but unfortunately not. But we just tried. We didn't want to cancel, so we just persevered through. The recording of the video will be sent into the group. I think we'll send it through tomorrow. Please check it tomorrow. We'll not be able to send it through today. Please check through the video. We'll send it through tomorrow. Then most of the concept that he has highlighted, this was an introduction class, right? He is going to repeat most of those concepts when he starts going through the units, when he starts going through each and every one of the different units. So even if you did not get anything today, please do not worry. Most of the stuff will be repeated starting from next week when he starts from unit number 1. Thank you guys for coming in. I don't know if there's any other questions unrelated to the calculations or whatnot. That's not my specialty. I'll send through the document. But are there any other questions? I'll send the document. I'll send the video. Are there any questions for me before I go? Hello?
Is it 800 rand per subject for the semester?
Yes, it's 800 rand per module. Each module that you do with us is 800 rand. If you want analytical techniques, 800. If you want analytical techniques plus economics, which means now 1.6. You can pay in installments. If you can't pay it at once, feel free to pay in installments. You just text me, we agree. If you are paying 600 a month, if you're paying 500 a month, whatever it is that we agree, I'm very agreeable. You just text me and we discuss if you want to pay in installments. All right. Any other questions?
Okay, and sorry to jump in there. And for those who have paid, are you still going to share previous question papers, or
yes
something you're just going to share on screen?
No, I'll send the previous question papers to the group. I'll send them to the group. I just need to look for them, but I believe I should have the one for this year, the one for last year. I should have them, and then but let me check first before I respond to that question. But I do have previous question papers for the last 2 years, for this year and for last 2022 and for 2021. I have the previous question papers for the last 2 years. I'm not sure 2020 if I still have it. I'll have to check my records. But I'll send the previous question papers, no problem.
By the group, you are referring to WhatsApp?
Yes, to WhatsApp.
Okay, perfect, yes. perfect. Thanks, man.
All right. Okay, you can remind me if you see 2-3 days, nothing, remind me. Sometimes I can forget. You can just remind me, James, can you send those question papers? And then I'll look for them and send. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions for me? Okay, if there are no questions, thank you guys for coming in. Video, I'll send it tomorrow. Document, I'll send it through tonight. See you on Saturday for Introduction to Business Management. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. Goodbye. Gwen, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. Oh, okay, let's talk on WhatsApp, my brother.
Actually, now this is my first time going into the group, so I hear guys talking about the group. There's a WhatsApp group available.
Yeah, we can chat one-on-one anyways.
Yeah, let's do one-on-one with you. I think I'll give you my number. You can give me your number. Which one is it?
Okay, I'm on my phone now.
It's 083.
Sure.
222. 50. 84.
Sure. Okay, guys.
Thank you, Gwena.
Should I call or should we chat?
Which network are you using?
I'm using Voda, but we can use WhatsApp call if you don't.
Okay, right. Yeah, just pass me and then I'll give you a call back.
Oh, okay, no problem. Sure.
Thank you, Abudi. Thanks a lot. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Masiteng, are you there? Lindy Malevo, are you there?